Hello there guys, and welcome back to a brand new 852 tutorial, and today we're going to be working on something brand new. Now, if you're a current subscriber to the channel, you'll probably know that I myself upload 2 car modeling tutorials a week, and John, my colleague, uploads 2 VFX or 2D animation tutorials a week. Now, this project we're working on right now is going to be a little bit different. This project's going to be running over the next 5 days, and then we'll be back with a brand new car modeling tutorial and the usual schedule next week. Now, this week we're teaming up with 5d-blog.com to put together a competition prize, which you can probably see on the screen just now. 5D asked us to come up with a bespoke render which they can print and give away as part of their competition prize on their website. So we thought with the new Star Wars film coming out at the end of the year, we was thinking about modeling maybe a TIE fighter or something like that to put together a cool space battle scene. But in the end we decided to go with the more iconic fallen AT-AT or AT-AT or whatever you want to call it, which you can currently see on the screen just now. So if you're here for the tutorial, we're going to jump right in. And don't forget to jump over to 5d-blog.com for all their sci-fi, fantasy and horror related goodies. So we already have our scene set up here in Autodesk Maya. I've got my blueprints in place already, which I'll probably put these in the description for you. So if you're requiring to, if you can't source your own blueprints off the internet, you can use these. What we're going to be doing in this first episode is we are going to be making the legs. So hopefully we'll get through all of the legs here. And then I'm kind of hoping we can keep it nice and short. We'll keep 1 episode for the legs, 1 for the main body section, and 1 for the head. That should be pretty cool. Now, in terms of the actual model that we're aiming to develop, we just saw what it's going to look like when it finishes. We know that this model is going to be used for rendering. We're not going to be using it for anything else. So we're going to want to be fairly detailed along the sections that we actually want to see. So we know we want to see a lot of the legs. We may not see too much of the underside. We're going to want to see a lot from here at the body, the head, and potentially the neck as well. So we've already seen what it's actually going to look like when it is complete. So the annoying thing about these blueprints here is these legs aren't completely straight, so that's going to be a little bit tricky to get those put together. It shouldn't be too bad. But if you have watched our car modeling tutorial, if you're a current subscriber, this is going to be a little bit different to the way that we have modeled elements in the past. So the stuff that we've modeled in the past has been hard surface stuff, and it's been a process of extruding. What we're going to be doing here, we're going to be creating this out of multiple components. So we're going to create a sphere, for example, a cylinder, for example, and then we're going to extrude down, extract, and just create a whole bunch of different elements here, which are all individual compartments. So this cylinder here will be individual to this section here, which will be individual to this and this and so on. So it's just going to be a whole host of grouped elements, which is a little bit different to what we've done in the past. So if we get started here, what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to hide my image planes. So firstly we're going to need a sphere. Now what we're going to be doing is we are going to be smoothing a cylinder, sorry. What we're going to be doing here is we are going to be smoothing these out. So we don't need to have too much details on this, but it will help us a little bit more if we do. So what we'll do is we're just going to boost these up to 30. Let's have a look. Okay, so that should be fine. And in our side view here, we can get this rotated around. So rotate that around here 90 degrees. And we're just going to pull this up roughly into position here at the top. Now, looking at the cylinder up here, we can see that it goes around and the extrusion here isn't directly on the edge, so it looks like it's actually inset slightly. So by starting with 30, we'll probably start our extrusion down from somewhere around these faces, which is going to mean that we'll get that same kind of distance in between. So if we set this here to extreme. So what we're going to want to do is position this roughly over this section here.
good. Now, in the actual perspective view, we can get this positioned in our side view here. We could also get this scaled down to what it needs to be, so we can work on it as it should be right off the bat. So bring that in just like this. So it's not going to be too difficult, this. Now, I haven't modeled this before, so like a few of the things on the channel, we're going to be making it up a little bit as we go along. But what we're going to be aiming to do is, like I said, we're going to create all these multiple components, we're going to bring them together, and we want it to be fairly high detail, so we want to get all these ridges in. We don't want to use too much textures because we want to get some nice depth with the shadows without really having to use too many maps or anything like that. So what I've got here is a whole bunch of reference images, which is always crucial when we're modeling elements in 3D. So we can see here that maybe we've got a little bit of a differentiation there and there. So it looks like the front of this actually has a little bit of a design. So what we'll aim to do is we will aim to extrude all our elements first, I think, and then we'll look to add some of the key designs to these sections. So let's just drop that here. So what we'll do then, just now, is we are going to extrude down on the required faces. So let's have a look here, see which faces we actually want to select. So maybe the edges here. So we'll take this one, and then we'll want to take the corresponding one, which is this one here. Yeah, looks good to me. And we'll take all of these faces down here at the bottom. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this shape as a base, and then we're going to extract what we actually do to this, and we're going to form its own shape afterwards. So inside here, we're going to hit Ctrl E for extrude. I'm going to scroll out, and I'm going to hit our little blue dot here. So we want to make sure that we're on the world axis for this. And we're just going to pull this down here. Now it's a little bit awkward because in this blueprint here, the AT&T is actually walking, which is no good to us. So we're going to try and do our best to match everything, but obviously try and keep the legs straight so it's nice and easy to duplicate for us. So we've extruded that down. So we've pulled that down, and what I'm doing now is I'm just pulling on the scale here just to make sure that it's going to be nice and flat. So you can see there that that's looking okay. We're just going to bring that down to match down here, which will be fine. Now it looks like the next section is a little bit thinner, so we can check our references here, and we can see that it does actually chop off inside there, which is cool. So at this point, this is where we're going to want to extract our elements from each other. So we're going to select the faces option, we're going to select the lower section, which we've just extruded. We're going to go to mesh, and we are edit mesh even, and extract. So that's going to take those faces away here, and they're now going to be an element on their own. And what we want to do real quick is we want to bridge the gap between these elements here. So what we'll do is we can grab all these edges, and we'll hit Ctrl E, and on the world option here we're just going to bring them across just like this. And with our vertices selected, we're going to drag the vertices here. We're going to hold down V, so that's going to snap it to the other vertices here, and we're going to edit mesh and merge. And we'll do this for all of these sections here. Okay, so we have one nice new section in there, which is looking good. So if we bring back our original part here. So what we could do here is we can see now that we have a pivot at the top, and if we select this, our pivot is in the center here. What we want to do is we want to take this element here and we want to give it its own pivot in the center. So we're going to modify here, and we're going to center the pivot just so that it's down and it's recognized that as the actual center there, which is fine. Now what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at creating the next section down, which is kind of inset on what we've got. We can see that it's quite inset on the side, but not so much on the edges there. So what we'll do here, let's just check the rear side of it as well. So the rear side here isn't too bad. So I think what we'll do is we will use our mesh tools here and we'll insert an edge loop, and we'll drop one on the front here, a little bit of a distance away, and then we'll drop one on the back, a tiny difference away there distance. And now what we'll do is we'll check to see which face here is going to be the best. I think that one should be fine. So we'll grab all of these faces here, not including the ones that we've just edited with our edge loop insertion. And what we'll do is we will grab these here by hitting Ctrl E, and we're just going to bring that down a little bit. I'm not going to bring that all the way just yet. I'm going to bring that down just here. Now what we're actually going to need to do is we are going to want these elements to be defined by the section underneath. So we're going to delete that just now. We can see that we've got a nice hole there where it should be. We'll do it this way actually. So we'll create the knee section here. Now we can see that this is eventually actually going to get a little bit thinner as it comes down. It looks to me like it's going to get a little bit thinner. So what we'll do here is we'll create another cylinder, and we're going to want this to be the same size as the element we made above, so we're going to have the same amount of elements. So we'll call that 30. We'll rotate it around on this axis as well by 90 degrees. Let's bring this up into position here. We'll drop that right in the middle, and we're just going to scale this all the way down. Okay, that's good. So it looks a little bit different down here. It looks like we have our section starting here. I think we might have started it a little sooner up there, so hopefully our geometry here will match nicely. So what we'll do here is we're going to grab all of the required faces that we need. We can actually get this central just now. So what we'll do is we'll drag that here, put that in just there. Looks like what's going to happen is these are going to be extruded out of our main faces. So let's have a look. Yeah, so it looks like we're going to have sections there which is extruded out, which is fine. So just get this in position just here, which is fine. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start our extrusion here, and then we're going to move it into a straight position with the leg, just so that we can get the correct sections. So what we'll do here is we will grab our faces and we want the ones that correspond here and here. So we want this one and this one. Take all of these here, and we're going to hit Ctrl E. Now we're going to do this one a little bit differently because we can see that it pops out. So we're going to extrude this twice, and again we're going to do it on the world option. We're just going to pull this up here, and the first thing we're going to do is scale it out so it can kind of match what we have right there, and it'll probably be good to keep this curve in for now. Then we're going to hit Ctrl E again for a secondary extrusion, and we're going to pull this up here, and we're going to want to flatten that off up here as well. Okay. We'll go ahead and we'll pull this all the way up. Cool. So let's get this now positioned where it should be, just here. So that looks pretty good. So what we'll do is we will grab these top vertices that we just extruded, and we're just going to scale them out just so that they meet the edges here, because I think it's going to be a case of that it gets a little bit smaller as it gets down just a little bit. Should be fine. And we're going to do the exact same again. We're going to select all of these faces here. We'll select all of these faces here, and then of course we want, what we can actually do is select all of the top ones here, and we'll hit mesh, edit mesh and extract again, so we'll take those away. And what we'll do with these, we'll do the exact same as we did with the last element, and we'll bridge these sections across just here. Okay, and what we'll do with these here is we'll select this one, and what we're actually going to do is we're going to select all of the edges that go inside here. We're going to hit Ctrl E, and we're just going to extrude up on this. So I'm just going to go up here, and then with all those elements selected there, we can let's see, mesh, fill hole, and we're going to use our multi-cut tool just here. And we're going to use this tool to drag in between each of these lines just to maintain the geometry inside here. So we can click into this vertices here, and we can drag click into this one where it'll snap. We can hit enter, which is going to draw our geometry in place down here. Okay, so that's looking good. And let's just make sure we're good there, which we are, that's fine. Cool. So we'll continue down the leg a little bit further, so we can see here that we've got this section which is going to be coming down here. Now what we're going to need to do with this is we can see that that's going to come straight off this side point here. So we'll go straight back to the sphere. We will drag, we'll select all of these faces here. Let's just check. So maybe it's not quite the same on this side, so that should be fine. We'll hit Ctrl E again. Take this down until it's level with the section that starts to build the foot. Bring that down here. Scale it so it's flat, and then we'll drop it so it's level down here. Okay, that looks good. And we'll do the same again, and we are going to extract these. So we can edit mesh and extract. And we're going to do the exact same again. We're going to make sure that we've got all of our sections, but we're going to make sure we've got it on all of these individual ones, because I don't think we would have done it on the top here. So we're going to make sure we bridge all of the gaps inside here. So another technique for that would be to select all of these edges here, and we can go to edit mesh and bridge, and that's going to bring it across there for us. And just make sure that that's going to sit nicely there, which it does. So that'll be a slightly quicker way to do that. We'll just double check this one, make sure everything's okay there, which it is. That's fine. This one will probably need a little bit of work, so we'll do the same again. Double click on all these edges here, we can deselect the middle ones, and we can edit mesh and bridge. Then we'll do the same at the bottom. Select all these, deselect the middle, hit mesh and bridge. Cool. Finally, a new section here. Let's do the same again. Okay, so what we're going to need to do is, you can see this section here isn't enjoying its extra face. So what we'll need to do with this edge, because these are exactly in line like this, what's happening here is this is what we call Z fighting or Z fighting, and that means two faces are trying to occupy the exact same spot. And what's going to happen is we're going to get shimmers like this. So just going to bring that in ever so slightly just to take it away, so we can see now that that shimmer is gone, which is fine. And the bottom of this is fine as well. So now we've got all these sections kind of prepped and ready, we can add some details to these afterwards. What we can do now is jump into the foot section. So this is probably the first complex section, and what we'll do with this is we're going to make this up of a few different elements. Again, we'll add the details afterwards. We're just going to make the basic shape of the actual foot section here. We'll make this kind of cross member section going around here and then onto the foot at the bottom. So what we'll do first is we're going to make this out of a cube. So we'll create a new polygon primitive here. We're going to drag this into position, and we're going to want to get this right in both views here. So we're going to have a little bit more work to do in terms of the positioning of this one. So let's X-ray this as well. So bring this down to roughly the right size in our front view. Looks fine to me. And what we're going to do is we're going to build it in place here. And again, it's a little bit at an angle, so it's going to be a little bit difficult, but should be okay for now. So that looks okay just there. It looks like all we really want to do is add a line that goes across here. So we are going to use our mesh tools. We're going to insert an edge loop and we'll drag it into position here. And with our vertices selected, we can pull this out and down. And we can do the same here. Just to make sure that's roughly where it needs to be. Looks like we can pull that out as well. Cool. And then we'll do the same on the front. These ones in. We want those to be in line, so we'll pull them both together. Take that down there. Same again here. Down there. So we've got that basic shape for that foot there. Now what I think we will do is I think we'll add some of these details in here whilst it's in the correct position. So we can see maybe this would be an extra detail that we would add on afterwards. So look, again, that would be details we don't really need to see where they are. Okay, so we could add those after, that would be fine. Okay, perfect. So we'll drag this into position then just here. What we may do actually is we'll keep it exactly where it is just now. We're going to want to create some little inset circles. So we're going to create a new cylinder here. Rotate that in our channel box. And we're going to scale this down, and what we'll actually do for now is we're just going to use this as kind of reference. So this needs to go here. We can scale that down. And what we probably want to do with this is take this down to 6. So it's nice and manageable. And in the front view, we can pull it forward into position. And we'll Control D that to duplicate, and we'll pull that into that position there. So basically what that's going to act for is that's going to act just as a little reference, so when we come to add these little bits in, they'll be in the exact same place. You can also add the slightly larger sections as well, so we'll rotate this around here. We'll bring this into position just up here as well. So bring that down there, and we will flatten off this lower section. So select all those lower faces there, and we can scale this in order to flatten that off. Maybe pull these vertices here down, like so. Then we want two of these again, so we'll put that over here as well. And again, just for now, we'll pull these here, just for reference. We'll add in the details later. Fine. So now what we want to do is we want to create the kind of handle thing that comes through, and we're going to do that by using one of these. So we'll use a tube here. Okay, I'm going to pull this around. Now, we'll want to reduce the thickness of this, I think. So take the thickness down 0.3, maybe 0.2. And in terms of the axis, we'll maybe boost this up just to 30. We're only going to need an element of this anyway. So I'll pull this into position, we'll get this scaled down. Looks like that should be fine there. Maybe actually, let's scale that down. Cool. And what we'll do with this is we'll delete all the faces we don't need. So it looks like we can start deleting from here and here. So we can delete all of that. We just want to dive in here. We just want to make this turn a little bit different. I think. Pull this one up, this one up here. So we're just going to pull these points into position, just which reflect our model a little bit better. So that looks okay. And we want to maintain a bit of an edge on here. We don't want to go completely flat because we want to kind of maintain the shape as we go around. Let's just pull these 2 points up a little bit as well. Get this one down. And we can work on this in our front view as well. There we go, that's good. And what we'll do here is we will grab the edges of these two. We'll hit Control E. And again, on the world, we're just going to bring these straight down. And we can scale them off again just to make them nice and flat. Okay. Happy enough with that. Now it looks like we're going to want to bring a point here which is going to go straight through the whole lot and out into the feet here. So what we'll do is we'll create that using another additional element, which will be another pipe. Now what we can do is, like I said before, we are going to smooth a lot of these elements once we've added in the details, but there's some elements that we can get away without smoothing, such as a basic cylinder like this. So we'll boost this up to 40, and this will not need scaling now when it goes through this point. So we'll just drag this into position. Maybe use this view here. So this just means that we won't need to smooth this when we go. This should have enough subdivisions inside here. So looks good. Make that so it just protrudes. And we can do the same with this subdivision with the vertices on this side here. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And now we need to make the foot. So the foot looks a little bit tricky. It's actually maybe not. It's just looks like it's another cylinder. So we'll create another cylinder here. And what we'll want to do with this again is we'll maybe boost it up in terms of subdivision axis. We'll go to 30 again. And what we'll want to do is we're going to want to match the size of the lower section. So bring that in like so. So drop that nicely on the floor. Bring these vertices up into place, and then we're going to scale them. I'm going to scale them down on the center axis here, not just on the sides. So that means it's going to scale in both the front and the side here. So if you put this into position, so we can see that it's not actually a complete circle here. So we're going to scale in a little bit there, and select these vertices here, and we'll scale them on the one axis. Now we can see that this isn't completely aligned up with our side image, so we're not going to match it too perfectly here, just in case. And what we'll do is we will grab our faces. Now we're just going to select the top faces, so we'll hold Control and we'll deselect everything else. We'll just got our top here. We're going to hit Control E, and again on the world we're going to pull up, and we're going to hit our scale option inside this, and we're just going to scale it down here. Check the front, that looks okay. We'll hit Control E again, and this is now going to allow us to bring all the way up to the top of the foot section. And again, we'll scale that in. That looks pretty good. See there, that's looking quite bulky and quite nice. Section there. And how many little toes does it have? I think 1, 2. So it looks to have 4 all the way around. Doesn't have any insets of any kind. Okay, so it appears to have, it's a little bit different on everything. So there's no inset there, there is an inset there, inset there. Okay. So in order to create these insets then, what we'll probably do is we will use an edge loop. And let's see how high we need to go here. So we'll drop that in just like that. And what we'll want to do is we'll want to select all the faces on the inside down here. So just going to orthographic here just to make sure we get everything selected. And for this inset we're going to need to do a little bit of work. So what we'll do is we're going to hit Control E, and on the world option all we're going to do is we're just going to scale. We're just going to scale in. So this is going to allow us to create a little inset for each of these little toe sections. So here and here I'm going to delete, and I'm also going to delete the rear facing ones as well, which is going to give us a complete hole there. And I'm just going to do the same for the foot. So actually it looks like we want to delete 3 rather than 2. Looks like it's a little bit wider. So maybe we'll do that one on this side, and this one on that side, just kind of 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, that should be fine. What we're going to want to do here is we are going to want to select all the edges within this hole here, but we're not going to want to select the bottom ones. We're also going to want to delete these faces here. So select the edge of this, 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 and these. I'm going to hit Ctrl E. I'm going to extrude these in like so. So you can see that we're going to be making a little bit of an inset. We will grab this lower vertices and we'll snap it to this one here. I'm going to select them, edit mesh and merge. Do the same with these ones here. Snap them using V, select them all, edit mesh and merge. So what we'll probably do with these top vertices is we'll select them both. We're just going to scale them, just so they're kind of following the same angle rather than we had before. That looks okay. And then select all these interior faces here, all these interior edges, and we will attempt, hopefully this will work, we will fill the hole here, that'll be fine. And do exactly what we did above, where we can draw in our lines here and here, which is going to make a little inset there. Looks quite nice in terms of what we've got there. So what I'm going to do real quick is just do the same for each of these sections. Okay guys, so now what we'll do is move all of these elements here roughly into position underneath this lowered section here. Just there, should be fine. Okay, so now we've got the base for the leg kind of set out here. It's kind of laid out quite nicely. I think what we'll do is we will select all of these sections here and we're just going to duplicate them. So we're going to go to edit and duplicate special, and what we want to do is open our little dialog box here, and we're going to want to make sure that this is an instance, not a copy. Everything else should be fine as default, and we can hit duplicate special here. What we can then do is drag these out, and we want them to match the same kind of joint at the top. So now we've got two legs. Now what's going to happen here is that when we add different elements to this. So for example, if I was to move the vertices here, it's going to move the vertices down here, so we can kind of see those develop now as we start to add some details to them. So what we'll do is we will start from the top, and we are going to work our way down, adding in all the different details. So on our front here, it seems to me that we have a lot of information going on this inside. So let's just see. There's generally very little detail on the inside of these because it's kind of attached to something else. Yeah, so it doesn't look like we're going to need to do too much in the way of details on the back, which is fine. So what we'll do is we're just going to select all of the elements on the front. So we'll grab this, deselect on this side. And it's going to be a little bit tricky. We're going to have to do a lot of this by eye again because of the angle of the leg. So we're going to hit Ctrl E on this, and we're going to select that world option. And if we look here, it looks like maybe it's kind of inset on there. Yeah, so it looks like it maybe extrudes down a little bit first. So what we're going to do is we're just going to scale down, something like that. Maybe not quite that much. It's okay. Now we're going to hit Ctrl E again. So we're going to do a secondary extrusion here. We're going to pull this out. We're going to see how much we need to do this on the front view, if any. So I can't really see there, so I'll just pull it out a little bit. Like so. And then we kind of want to extrude in quite a little bit. So we're going to hit Ctrl E again. Bring this down. So maybe bring it down roughly so it's touching just there. So that looks good. I'm going to hit Ctrl E one more time, and we're going to push this in. Now, we're starting to see the importance of what we did earlier, where we extruded down off of the shape. Because this shape here has got this curve in it, that means it's not going to interfere. If we just use another cube, potentially what would happen is we'd have a line going straight across here. So by doing what we did, we made sure that we followed that curve, so we can kind of go nuts with this sphere section in the middle here. Now, it looks like it's got a little bit in the middle here. So, what we could try doing is we could try... Now, I'm not going to work at a diagonal angle. The reason I'm not going to work at a diagonal angle is because it's going to make it a little bit tricky to extrude. We want to make sure that we kind of extrude these sections nice and straight. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to work on a side of our axis here. I'm going to extrude across. We'll separate to make this little shape. And then what we can do is we can just rotate the shape on the inside of this into any position that we want it to be. So we're going to make a little bit of a custom shape here. I think what we'll do is we'll maybe take 4 of these points, not the ones behind there. So what we'll do is we're going to hit Ctrl E, and we're going to extrude these directly out on this axis here. And what we're going to do for now is we are going to delete any faces other than the ones at the front here. Kind of want to select the rear facing. Okay. And what we'll do with the vertices is we're just going to snap these to the corresponding points across. Snap that there, snap that here. Here. Okay, so we've got that kind of shape that we need. I think it's maybe a bit on there. That's not too bad. Maybe what we could actually do. So let's just quickly extract this. So mesh, edit mesh new, and extract. What I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to make it a little bit. I'm going to make it one fatter. So we'll grab on this edge. We'll hit Control E. Just going to extrude this down, and whilst it's in the current position here. Snap it to these points, so. Okay, so real quick before we do anything else, I'm going to isolate the selection here, and what we're going to do is quickly fill this hole. So we are going to mesh full hole, and we'll draw in our polygons here, multi-cuts. What we can do is we will grab all of the edges to this, and we'll hit Control E. We'll just extrude this all the way in until it goes past that inner point, so we'll just overlap it there. And with this now, we are going to modify and center the pivot. So it's going to be bang in the middle of this section. And what we're going to do real quick is we're going to scale it down ever so slightly. So we've got just a little bit of a gap between, and then what we can do is just push it in a little bit as well. So it's kind of gave us that shape going across there. So we can see that we've kind of got an inset with some kind of looped section here. So what we'll do is we will firstly create the kind of center section here, and we'll do that by inserting an edge loop. Just drop one here and one here, and we can simply just extrude out on that center face. So we'll hit Control E, just pull this one out. Now we've also got this kind of mechanism here, so it looks like this mechanism here is going to be kind of doing the rotation of this leg. So we can see that we've got a little bit of a groove on the inside, plus that area there. So what we'll do is we could maybe scale this down just a little bit so it's not quite so large and taking up so much space. Now we're going to actually make sure that this is central to our shape rather than that of the blueprint. So I'm just going to drag that in here. It's just so that I can see that the center of the tool that's selecting both of these lines is over that center vertices just here. That's fine. And maybe scale it down just a little bit more, just so it's a bit more manageable size. So what we'll do is we'll use our multi-cut tool here. I'm going to hold Control so we can make a full line. We'll just drop a line in here and a line in here, and we'll grab this face and we'll just delete it. Actually, now what we'll do is we'll extrude it in. So extrude that in just again on the world option, just to make sure. We'll pull that in and past the point there. So what we're going to want to do with our circle behind here is we're going to want to select all of our, make sure we haven't selected anything that we shouldn't have, just like I did just there. back, so it's fine. What we're going to do is we're going to hit Control E. I'm going to extrude these elements again. We'll make sure that we're on the world option here. And we are going to scale down. Oops. We'll scale this down to about here. I'm going to hit Control E. And again, on the world option, grab the scale, take it down again to something like that. And that's going to now allow us to select all of these faces down here. And this is going to be what makes our groove. I think it just looks like it's half there. We're going to hit Control E on those. Again, we're just going to make sure we're on the world option. I'm just going to push in on there, just like that. Okay. So we see we've got that groove now inside here, which is perfect. And what we could actually do is we can now quickly bring in a new primitive here. I'm going to boost up just so we don't have to smooth it. Take that up to 30. Bring that around on this axis here. And this is going to be a little mechanism that's inside that groove. So let's scale this down. This up here. Scale this down as much as we need and drop that in side. Okay. So it looks like, as usual, at the beginning I've greatly underestimated the task. And we're approaching quite some time here. So what we'll do is we'll quickly get this section smoothed off using the techniques that we'll be following throughout the rest of this leg. So what we'll do is, in order to smooth this, we're going to be required to add a few different edge loops. We want to make sure that we're maintaining the sharper edges that we have. Before we do it, let's just make sure there's no details really on the outer area here. So it all looks fairly smooth on a lot of these examples. There's no real ridges of any kind, that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to want to smooth this so it's going to look nice when we render. So we have a few options here. This current state is the low poly mode, which is indicated by pressing 1 on the keyboard. It's generally the default. If you press 2 on the keyboard, what's going to happen is we see that we can smooth, but we've still got the low poly cage on the outside. If you press 3 on the keyboard, we're going to see what it looks like under smoothing. And we can see that if this is smoothed out right now, that's not going to give us the desired effect that we're looking for. So to go back to the original, we can select again and we can hit 1. What we want to do with this is we want to add some more definition inside here. So if we do that, for example, by pressing 2, we can see here that we've got an awful lot of deformation. In order to maintain our original shape, what we'd want to do is we want to insert some edge loops. So by inserting edge loops, what's going to happen is this deformation here can be maintained easier. Now, we don't just have to add edge loops, we can edit the faces that we already have. And what we're going to want to do first is we are going to want to just add a little bit more to this rear section here. So I'm going to select all these rear faces. We can do this in any view, we'll do it in one just now. We're going to hit Ctrl E for our extrusion. Again, we're going to do this on the world option, axis. Select that there. We're going to scale down, and we're going to scale down ever so slightly. So we're kind of doubling up that edge there. Maybe not even quite that much. There we go, that'll be fine. So by adding that extra loop there, it can be done through edge loop tools or by extrusions or editing the information that's already there. When we hit 3 this time, we can see that that's maintained that shape better. So rather than curving all the way down, that's maintained it. So with 2 selected here, so we can see the low poly mesh on top, what we're going to do is we will insert an edge loop. And we'll insert this close to this edge here. And we'll see that that's now maintained that shape quite well. So if we select just the 3 view on its own, rather than having the extra cage, we can see that even though this is smoothed, and we can see that it's smoothed on this inside edge here, you can see that we've still got that nice harsh edge because we've doubled up on the polygons there. Now there's a few tools that we can use to do that. We can use a crease tool for example, but using the edge loop tool just gives you a little bit more customization by adding a few extra edge loops inside. So if we now add a few more edge loops around here, what we'll do is if we do it in this 2 view, we can kind of see it develop. We can do it in any view, it doesn't really matter. What we'll do is we'll add another loop on the edge here, so we can see that that's instantly helped out that edge there. And we're going to double up on all of these. We're going to drag some on the outside and then some on the inside. So we can see that we've got doubled up on those edges. Now we only needed to extrude this edge here because these are all 3s and meeting in the middle, we couldn't have actually added an edge loop around there. Whereas everywhere else we have inside here, we can add an edge loop because we've already modified it in some way. So what we'll do is we'll go through and we will add our edge loops inside here. So we'll drop one here and here, and we'll do the same on these edges there. So because this is basic shape, it's going to be fairly easy to actually get what we want from this. So we can see that we've got super nice sharp edges there, but we've got that nice smoothness going all the way around. We just want to have this reflect through the whole of the shape here. So again, we can insert some edge loops going all the way around this model here. Drop some here. Now they don't have to be too close, you just want to get them close enough so that we can get kind of shape. Now around here what we're going to want to do is, hopefully it will maintain quite nicely if we just drop them on the inside. We won't need to add too much to the outside. See how that's looking there. So we can see that that's taken that groove quite nicely. It's curved off the edges for us. You can see that the majority of this sphere, what was a cylinder, is looking pretty good as we go around. Let's go. And what we'll want to do is we'll want to do the same to this here. So if we select this one, and if we hit 3 on this, we're going to instantly see that it's going to lose absolutely everything. So what we're going to want to do first is insert some edge loops, and we are going to want to grab one and we're going to drag that just to the back. We're going to want to bring one all the way to the front here. Now what's going to happen is, because we have extruded in from this is hopefully going to maintain the majority of the correct curve for us. So you can see here that's starting to hold that curve, but there's still not quite enough geometry in place to do it. You can see that this corner here, for example, is curving off completely. So by adding some edge loops inside here, you can see that now that corner has been maintained a little bit better. We can see that this curve is following the same curve, but we haven't done the same over there, so we've still lost that curve, which is fine for now. We also want to add an edge loop finally to this corner here to go across the top. So again, if we hit 3 on there, we can see now that that corner is maintained perfectly. We're following the curve around nicely, and we just want to do the same on all the other areas, the other edges. So again, we're going to insert some edge loops, drag one down here, and go all the way up to this edge here. So smooth that off. So we can see the general edge now of this is quite nicely maintained, going all the way around like so. Now, we've lost a lot of definition inside here, so first of all, what we're going to want to do is insert some loops along this inside edge here and here. Now in order to maintain this, we don't want to have any edges going across, because we want this curve to match that on the outside. If we have an edge loop here, it is going to sharpen off this corner, but the issue that will give us is it will also sharpen off this edge over here. So we'll get to the point here that we can see that this now isn't following the curve which we had before. Now luckily with this model, we have let's just delete that edge there, just undo that. We have a nice flat top. Now if this was a more complex model, we'd have to be a little bit clever in the way that we add this line in, but it should be fine, and we should get enough of the desired result by just adding the loop in here and here. So if we quickly smooth that off, we'll see that we're getting quite a nice little protrusion there. Nothing too harsh and straight, but that's going to give us enough of what we actually want in there, so that's fine. What we'll do now is, with our section here, is we'll just do the same. So we'll insert some edge loops, and we'll try to maintain some of the edges inside here. If this one curves, it's not a big deal. And again, we'll drop some here and one like there. So maybe that here, this isn't quite looking as sharp as I would want it to. So we've got two options. We either follow an edge around the outside, or we can follow another edge on the inside and hope that that is enough. So we'll try the one on the inside first. So we'll add another edge loop in between these two here. So we'll try dropping another one just here, we'll see how that looks. Okay, so that's a little bit better. So that's a little bit sharper there. So maybe we'll just do the same here. I guess that looks a little bit better there as well. So we've got that nice first section pretty much complete. It's going to be fairly high poly, but we can see the difference between this part here and the parts underneath in terms of the quality there. So what's going to have happened is this one will have disappeared. That was because we extracted the elements. That's no problem, we can add that back in the next episode. Let's bring the wireframe in here. Okay guys, so hopefully you enjoyed that. What we'll do in the next episode is we'll quickly run down this leg, add in all the required details, and then hopefully get started on the actual body of the component. Okay guys,